Trying not to slouch. Am I sitting up straight?
Yeah, bruh. And I'll sit a little toward the end. Bruh, thank you so much for being willing to join me here today. I know that with my background in comedy, that's how we met. I didn't mention that in your introduction, that you are also a stand-up comedian. And what other talents did you display, bruh? Radio, that because we both do radio. And again, sometimes when you're good friends with a person, you don't even really realize how accomplished they are till you read the stuff. And I was like, kind of like, wow, you know, I wondered why this dude even hang around me. You know what I'm saying? What did I do to get this man in my circle? So
man, more than you know. More than you know.
I appreciate that, brother. Again, thank you so much for coming. Now, we had talked about this prior to your coming on.
Definitely.
I explained to you what I was trying to do, and you were more than gracious in being willing to help me. To address the first thing I just said, in my doing research, in my trying to get some dialogue started about men and men's issues, the people most willing to participate were female.
Right.
Do you think that that's because men don't know what it means to be a guy, or do you think that they're just so accustomed to deferring to females on issues of how we feel and think?
In my observation, first of all, I just appreciate the question, because those questions actually open up doors to people, to places where people didn't even know existed.
Right.
I deal with some
kind of like Whole Foods.
Exactly.
Places you never knew existed.
Exactly.
Man.
Exactly.
Right.
Or just shopping at Kroger without being a member.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Wait, they got membership?
Yeah, they got membership.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk. I got the little card there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Membership. There we go.
Yes.
Thank you,
yes. So, to your question, as far as expressing themselves, being able to communicate without the backlash, your question is related to another question that I saw on Facebook the other day, and it has a lot to do with each other.
Okay.
The question, just like the question you just asked me, is why men are not necessarily expressing themselves, right? And what's the issue? I asked the question, what happens when men express themselves? Usually, they are not listened to, or whatever they say is not accepted. That's based off my observation. Now, my observation, I'll be clear about what my observation is. I've been talking with people ever since I was a kid. Right? I was a peer mediator for my peers, and I've noticed that people will talk to people who will listen. And I talked to a lot of adults growing up, man. People who were married, people who were not married, people who were dating. But most of my friends were much older than me, and they used to tell me about a lot of different things. And one of the things that I've noticed about a lot of the men is that no matter what they thought it didn't matter. They just thought it didn't matter across the board. Now, they knew they had to hold themselves accountable. They know they just couldn't go out there and be reckless. But as far as expressing themselves and saying what's on their mind and on their hearts, a lot of them didn't see any positive reinforcement after that took place. So what is the thought process of after you express your mind or your heart and you don't see any positivity? Process of elimination, or logic will tell you might not want to say it if you want to look for something positive. Right?
Now, if I may stop you for a second, to my assertion about contradiction, James Brown, "This is a man's world."
Right.
Everything that we have been conditioned to believe is that men are the people who dictate and direct the direction of societal norms and the things that keep us moving as a civilized world.
That's true.
We have been taught that men are the head of this, men stand strong and lead the house. How is it then that someone who has been charged with all of that responsibility has relinquished it to anyone else? And I don't want this to sound like guys are being run over by women. I sincerely am asking, what makes men afraid to even be right? I am a happily married man, and I know that there are times that in talking to my contemporaries and in times with disagreements with my wife, there are times when I know I'm right, but just to prevent discord, just to not upset the balance, I'll shrink. What makes men defer their feelings and emotions that way?
Men prefer peace and privacy over pleasure.
Peace and privacy. So basically, he's saying y'all talk too much. There's what a person says, and there's then what a person hears. And now this man's a doctor. I didn't say that. He said y'all talking too much. So I'm paraphrasing now.
Well, you know what? And it's funny. It's not necessarily the talking too much. It's not enough listening. It's not the talking. You can talk all day, but as soon as a man says something and no one believes what he says, what's the use of him even talking about it? Because I always have I do consulting for so many different groups, and some of the questions that come up is, why my dad was this, why my dad was that. And I used to ask people, I said, have y'all ever looked at the father's facial expression in family photos? Have y'all ever just sat there and watched the same facial expression from generation to generation as the father just looking straight ahead? And all the kids, the wife and the kids are smiling, having a ball. And the dad was just like,
now,
I'm just here so I won't
I remember all of those expressions from my grandfather down. And a lot of that was tied to the fact that they were staring into cameras they really couldn't afford.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's
my grandmama wanted that new with the Kodak. My mama wanted the new digital. And so now they just standing there with all these brand new clothes that we hadn't counted on buying and all of that.